go from bad to worse as the Perth Glory men fall 4-0 to Newcastle. Yeah, the girls, a big home win for Stephen Peters' Perth Glory women, and the not-so-secret liaisons. Just what went down at a recent fan meeting. Welcome to the Far Post Perth Podcast, presented by ID Athletic. Don't forget, now's the time to book your orders for your 2025 kits. Visit 84 House Street in Osborne Park or idathletic.com. Also, we'll speak to the man who sponsors us as well, Dino Djulbic and the team at Trio Homes. If you're looking to build, redesign or renovate, visit triohomes.com.au. Another big week, another week in the doldrums if you're a Perth Glory fan. Plenty to chat about and some breaking news just today about a coach shooting through to Japan. Let's get into it. To my left, James Renton. Welcome back, mate.
Thanks for having me, Blayne.
Yes, and Neil Sherwin's with us, mate. Welcome back.
How's it going?
I just asked you a little bit earlier on, mate, the sleep patterns, and you reckon you've just been up all night watching football and not helping out with the baby at all?
Yes, that's exactly it. I've seen every game of football go, and it's been brilliant. It's quite a few days, though. There's not many games on during the week, so The weekends is where we're living, though. All
right, there we go. Let's get into it. The way that we like to start is our good, our bad, and the ugly of the week. James, kick us off with the good, mate. Can you find any?
Yeah, Adelaide United and their performance against the Central Coast Mariners, I thought, for a team that had been slowly building now under Carl Viet, they've really taken that next step this season, and they just completely dismantled Central Coast. And I think through their performance and the way in which they won and how much control they had, I think it's put the league on notice.
Neil, what was good, mate?
Australia coming to Optus Stadium against Japan. Not ideal as a football fan to go to Optus for a game. It would have been nice in HBF Park. I think you lose a lot of the atmosphere and maybe a bit of the less intimidating place for Japan to come. But money talks, tourism, getting WA government obviously involved in that as well. And it seems to be quite reasonably priced as well. I'd looked at the tickets today, and adults start at $29. There's some tickets for $59.
Perfect.
No reason really not to go. And having two Socceroos games in the space of 12 months is pretty big for us, considering we didn't have one for so long. So it's nice we're not getting a minnow as well. We're actually getting
this is
a blockbuster game.
This is as big as it gets in
it's
this region. So, and it will be by that stage.
Just hopefully there's plenty to play for, and people turn up, and I think it'll be great. It's a Thursday night. Maybe get Friday off work.
Take the Friday off.
The Friday off, put it in, get your leave in now. But that's a really good announcement. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, that was going to be my good as well.
Sorry.
So I will just add on, I did have as well written down here, just the Perth Glory women brought a much-needed sense of joy to Perth Glory fans across the weekend. So after what we had to sit through on Saturday evening, it was nice on the Sunday to be able to watch that win. And big congratulations to Stephen Peters and the team. And I thought Megan Wynn was good, and I thought Gabby Holler was excellent as well. So it was very good. James, kick us off. What wasn't so good?
Sydney FC's defending. I think, obviously, with Glory and the way in which we've been defending and our kamikaze defending, it has obviously taken most of the attention this season. But Sydney, for a team that most people probably thought would be challenging for the toilet seat, it's been pretty bad. The numbers behind it haven't been too good. So only Glory have conceded a higher XG against, for example, than Sydney FC. Obviously, Ufuk Talay wants to play a variation of the Red Bull model, but whenever Sydney lose the ball, they are so open. And credit to Western United. I think most people would have expected that to have been a regulatory win for Sydney FC, but it wasn't. And a very good performance from Western United. But again, big concerns for Sydney FC with the way in which they defend, particularly if they want to win the title.
Neil?
I don't want to bring it up, but crowd figures, pretty rubbish across the weekend. 5,459 at Glory. I did wonder last week how many people would be bothered showing up. Given the amount of other options, Wildcats are playing well. That stupid Big Bash that started again, and I'm sorry, I hate it. And a few other bits and pieces going on. It's summer, right? The weather's good. You get out and about, but it wasn't just Perth. I mean, Western Sydney Wanderers had a really poor turnout. 6,600. The Mariners scraped 4,000 together. Only Sydney cracked 10,000. They had 11,757. So pretty grim across the board crowd-wise. I know that there's Melbourne Derby this week and all that to inflate things, but as a regular week with just normal, there wasn't really any blockbuster fixtures. it shows it's a little bit concerning where we're at in terms of those crowd numbers.
I mean, some of those crowds are expected. Like, we expect smaller crowds, MacArthur's, Western United's and everything else. But I think the biggest disappointment has been, maybe not in this case because you said Sydney FC, but the bigger clubs, like Wanderers fans, where the hell are they? I know they haven't been going through a great run, but I mean, there's 2 million people out in the western suburbs of Sydney. Melbourne Victory is another one. Where have all they're sitting, what are they, second on the table still?
Yeah,
there's 2 million people in Perth. But
lots of members as well, though, for both of those two clubs also.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think I think they're the ones that's probably a little bit more disappointing.
The one matter effect.
The one matter
isn't
effect.
really doing anything.
It hasn't done anything, has it?
No, hasn't moved the dial at all, and that's been the case with some of the players that have come in. There's an initial burst for the first couple of rounds. You know, they had the derby in the first round of the season, but he's not exactly doing anything football wise as well. Which it's not really enticing. Now, I suppose if you're a Man United fan or you're a Chelsea fan, once you go see him once, you've seen him. So are you really going to go to more Wanderers games if he's getting 20 minutes off the bench? Yeah. Probably not. So that might be a factor as well. They're not getting the sugar hit that they thought.
Yep. My bad on the weekend. I'm going to refer to the Perth Glory game. My call on the Perth Glory game, it was just so bloody difficult to call that match and get any type of excitement out of it. So if you were listening, I do apologise. It was a bit of a frustrating one for everyone, but to try and describe the play out there was a little bit horrendous. So that's going to be my bad for the week. Ugly, James?
I could go with Glory, but I'll go with a different route. Brisbane Roar's time wasting.
Yep.
The antics, particularly late on in the game, especially when the camera went on to Ruben Zadkovic.
Was that a signal to go down?
Yeah, because once the ball went out, Macklin Freak went straight down, and then Daniel Eller, the referee, went, no, that's not a cramp. Come on, get up. But look, I get he's under pressure. He needs to get the result, and he's trying to stunt the momentum. But when you're caught on TV doing it, I mean, come on, it's not a good look for the league. It's not a good look for. No. You should be trying to play your way out of a difficult moment rather than trying to bring the game into disrepute, so to speak.
Yep. So agree. Yeah.
That was my ugly as well, but I rate it. I'm a dark arts kind of guy.
You are,
do what you can with the win. If you can get away with it, if you can throw in a cheeky nudge or a handball or time waste and give your players a breather and take one for the team and chop someone down on the halfway line and pick up a yellow card, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Who cares? Well, who's gonna worry about that? If they scrape finals by a point, say at the end of the season, and it's to do with a point that they picked up against Western Sydney, brilliant, great. He got caught on camera, but so what? So what if he got caught on camera? Everybody does it. Everybody's.
I'm a fan.
I'm a huge fan of it. If you can get away with it and you can win, brilliant. Brilliant. Do it. Yeah.
Ugly. I'm just going to go back to the Perth Glory. I think you put it in your article. This is by far and away, I think, the worst brand of football we've ever seen. That on the weekend was atrocious.
Is there a brand of football?
No.
Probably not. I mean,
that's my issue is, and I'll let you get back to your
review. I was just going to say, and then you compound it with the boos, the cheers, and people walking out, which they're certainly right to do, but...
Well, look, the coach was brought in to play a brand of football, right? And that was a sound philosophy. People complain when we recycle coaches and players, right? That's the first thing they say, recycle. And went a bit out of the box, brought in a guy who's served his time as an assistant, done his time in Europe, America, here, and great, bring him in. Brilliant. And they brought in to play a brand of football. But if he blows that up after 6 to 8 games and decides he's not playing that brand of football, well then, is he the right person to coach? Because he's an expert in one field, but he's obviously not in what they're trying to do at the moment because it's shit, right? So if you move away from the philosophy and he's a rookie coach, for using Americanism, is that the right person for the job? Now, it sounds like it is. They're going to back him, but he'd want to do something pretty quickly because, again, referring back to said article, the stat I've had a look at was before the international break, played 4, 1-0, drew 1, lost 3.
Yep.
That was meant to be a circuit breaker in the middle. Came back after that, played 4 more games now, and it's the exact same record. They've scored 2 more goals and conceded 2 less, but it's still shit. So nothing has changed in terms of the record, and that was meant to be the time to reset, to get players up to speed. we're also still parachuting underdone players into the team. Riley Warland last week and Tommy Murchela this week.
Yeah.
So the whole thing about we've got to get our players fit. Now, well, then the last 2 weeks you've started players who hadn't kicked the ball since pre-season or not at all from months ago. So these sort of things are a massive problem, and people are picking up on it because 1 or 2 games you let it slide. 8 games is a pattern, and the pattern is dreadful. 24 goals conceded in 8 games.
It's a new A-League record after 10 games. Yeah. Mariners 18-19 season, they had 24 goals conceded after 10. We've conceded that after 8.
Yeah, unless they keep 2 clean sheets the next 2 weeks.
Stop.
But it is, and look, we were hoping that they'd come home after that run of away games, 3 home games out of 4, give us something, and within 8 minutes, it was, oh shit, here we go again. Yeah. And I think that's, and I asked David Srilich after the game, is there something wrong preparation wise, because they're conceding very early in games. They did it against Victory, they did it at the weekend, and then after half time, give your team talk, rev the lads up, give them a set of instructions. Against Melbourne City, they conceded after 30 seconds. Yep. They conceded within 90 seconds of the restart at the weekend, and everything just goes out the window because it's 2-0 down. Oh, we'll get the next goal, lads. Well, if that's gone after 30 to 90 seconds, the game is dead. The only reason it stayed 4-0 is because the Jets took the foot off the gas. They could have comfortably scored another 2 or 3 the way they were carving Glory open on both flanks, and with one underdone centre back and one who just does not want to be here and has been dreadful. So yeah, it's very, very, very bad. It's, as you say, it's the worst football we've seen, and at least some of the other teams showed some signs or a bit of heart. I think that they did have that little congregation in the middle after the third goal where they all had a prayer circle in the middle of the pitch, and it led to nothing.
Yep. James, let's morph this into a bit of a look back on the weekend and the Perth Glory. I mean, some of those goals too from Newcastle were just soft as butter.
Yeah, and when you look at Glory from a defensive perspective, Daniel McBreen made a really good point in the A-League Off Air podcast, where it doesn't matter whether it's in a pressing situation or Glory are in a block, they can't defend. There were so many instances where, for instance, in Glory's press, they just had poor spacing between the lines, or they were wanting their players to do too much, like wanting Josh Riston to sprint out from a deeper position to try and cover because the press itself with the front 4 is too passive and too easy to bypass. And then the spacing between the midfield, spacing behind. It was too easy, and I would have liked to have seen from David after 15 minutes or even beforehand make a tactical adjustment, because Newcastle's plan was so clear, so obvious and so basic, and so many teams have been targeting it for so long now. And even when you look at the goals and the way in which we concede the goal, we're either a second too slow, or our decision-making, particularly from Kanga, who I'm going to go quite hard on. You said he's obviously not interested, and that's pretty clear.
Weeks ago, yeah.
That's the thing. But the first goal, why are you swinging your leg like that? I immediately got William Gallas vibes. And then there was a moment where there was the header that Shushnia had that was cleared off the line by Gomulka. Riley Warland had his man, and Kanga was on Shushnia, but didn't even know where he was, didn't even put a block, didn't even try to affect the jump. And there was a free header by Shushnia. And then for the third goal from Ben Gibson, poor defensive shape from the Glory, was able to go right around on the right-hand side for Thomas Aquilina. And then you've got Murchela, who's positioned himself fairly well. And then you've got Kanga, who allows Gibson to get that separation. No block, no intervention, no nothing. It's like, nope, that's okay, you go. And poor Cam Cook, he came over to see myself and a few of the guys at full time, but he looked absolutely dejected. And I think we've proven now it doesn't matter who's in goal. The whole team dynamics from a defensive perspective have been garbage.
I did think they changed it slightly tactically in the sense of they played Pennington as a 10.
Yep.
And that was probably because the midfield has been carved open in every game, and it was probably with the rather than having a 10 who does not want to defend, a more dynamic, who's more of an 8, right? Pennington is an 8 playing in front of two sitters.
Yeah.
Callum Timmins still looked like prime Iniesta in there, playing triangles, bouncing the ball around. He got a lot of praise after.
I thought he was good.
He was very good. He was very good, but he was allowed to be very good, and they just did look like they didn't have the legs to keep up with those players in the middle of the park. And yeah, I think we've now had 5 or 6 players playing that number 10 position, and
it's flawed.
None of them are doing anything attacking wise. Feeding off scraps. Taggart again long balls out of defence up against two centre backs. That's easy. It's easy to play against. He can hold the ball up. He's very good at doing it for a guy who's not 6 foot, whatever, 4.
Yeah.
But he has to wait 2, 3, 4 touches before the next person arrives to lay it off, get the ball wide.
That's not his game, though.
No, it's not. He's a poacher. He's a poacher, right? So you either need to play David Williams up with him and play 4-4-2, Mike Bassett style, and if you're going to play those long balls and have 2 strikers, occupy 2 centre backs, feed off the breaks, get your quick wingers into the play, and essentially play as a 4-2-4 if you're going forward. But if you're going to play those long balls out of defence to Taggart as an isolated one with 3 central midfielders behind them, you're going to get no joy. And that's pretty much what happened. And it was very easy to defend against. They had a few half chances, but how many times did they get in behind the Newcastle defence?
Really?
And that's been a
field day.
Yeah, it's been a big issue.
Second game in a row. Clayton Taylor and Lucas Moragas have had a bit of a day out.
Yeah, and it's, you can look at individual players for not winning your own battles, because for as much as we have criticised David for failing to create the necessary tactical setup for the team to succeed, when players are not winning their individual battles, how can Clayton Taylor be allowed to not only get past Gamulka and Pennington, but then go at our back four, and no one made the decision to step out and go at him and try to condense the space and make it a little bit harder?
I think, just on Newcastle, I think they're not a bad side. I just think they're a young side. I think the oldest one on the park on the weekend was 28 years old.
Would have been Shush, I think.
28, 29, I think it was. If they can keep this core together, they're not going to be a bad side.
Look, they're on a shoestring budget, and they've said that afterwards. Yep. But yeah, if you're gonna, you can be one or two things. You can be shit with old players. You can be shit with young players. And you then take the young players and hopefully try to develop them. You obviously can't have a whole team of kids. We saw that with Glory through the COVID times when they had to put everybody who was over 15 had to get a game. That's not the model, but as you say, there's a couple of experienced players in there. They were also missing a couple as well that were unavailable. Rose was, for example,
Lockie Rose.
Ingham as well. Yeah, Ingham. They're two experienced players who would add to that team as well. So they and this is the other thing, right? They got called out by Stanton the week before for being soft, and Glory got bullied by a team that the week before had been called soft. Yeah. What does that make?
Yeah.
Glory, he got a good reaction out of them, but it shouldn't have been that easy for them to bounce back that quickly against Glory. Glory should have looked at them and gone, they've just been called out by their coach last week. They've obviously got some issues themselves. If we're going to win a game, this is 8 minutes, 1-0 down, chasing the game again with no sign of creativity. The other thing last thing I'll say on it is, after the game, David Zrilic just needs to stop referring to preseason wins.
All the stuff in the background.
He's saying that, we show good signs in preseason, and we had a few wins there, and we look good. It's 2 months ago, 3 months ago now.
It's the only thing there is to hang their hat on, isn't
but
it? Really?
But it's, you just got to stop talking about it because no one cares now.
Well, I'd actually like to see a bit of a Rob Stanton kind of, esque kind of spiel from Zrilic, and I'd like to see him call people out that don't want to be there, that don't want to play for the shirt.
Well, I don't
probably be no one left.
But I don't know David on a personal level, but he's surprisingly passive, both on the touchline and
that's been mentioned by a lot of people.
I was going to say that because a lot of people have gone after that, and I think when you've got a system like his, which relies on you to be aggressive and stepping up and being intense, let's say if you're a young player as well and you're trying to get a bit of confidence and your senior players aren't doing too well, and you look at Dave, and a few people have mentioned this, he's either got his arms folded, hands in his pockets, or he's sitting on the bench. How is that supposed to inspire you when you've got Rob Stanton, even in the 80th minute, game's already done, but he's still jumping up and down like a gym bunny? I mean, you want your coach to drive the system. You want him to drive and motivate the players, and there's been a big question already about the players' lack of motivation. So
I do wonder if he's struggling with the shift from assistant, where you coach players, to being a manager. Right, and then actually managing players and personalities, and he had strong characters to do that at Sydney. He was obviously an assistant in Europe and in the US. Now it's on him to motivate and pick them up, and it can be really hard. If you've got players that are demotivated, that are not on the team, and they're losing, and they feel like they should be involved and they're not. And we've seen the Caicedo situation is shambles. Maybe that's where he's struggling. That step up from where everything stops with you, rather than just going out on the training pitch and being somebody who offers suggestions. You are the one that has to find all the solutions. And now that he's moved away from his philosophy, he's not sure what to do next. And that's fair enough. You know, you've come in with this idea and this grand plan. But then the issue with that is, why would you bring in a coach and then sign a lot of players that don't fit his philosophy? Yeah. There's a massive disconnect between what the coach wants to do and the players. Who signed the players?
Yep. No, totally agree. Just a quick one before we take a bit of a break and come out the other side. One thing that I noticed on the weekend as well was there wasn't a single midfielder on the bench. Once O'Neill had to go off, his replacement was Carluccio.
Who's left? I could have filled the bench.
Well, when there's been, I don't get it.
So Bulgaria could have been moved centrally,
but he's much better as a 10, though. In fairness, with this, how he moves and how he receives, and when there's already been a bit of discourse about players' positional discipline.
I've said it about 3 or 4 times. I would have put David Williams in as the 10, and just for that bit of experience, play closer.
He should have been brought on over Blair at that point in time.
Yeah, I would have had him. With the way that the game was going, I would have got him on, and it's strange that he's not getting more minutes than he has been in the struggling team.
Another quick one before we go. Risdon looked cooked very, very early in that game.
Running in quicksand.
He looked very, very slow, lethargic, and early as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we can expect to see him.
Few comments from the socials quickly. A couple of goods. We were in at a kickoff. Very true. Bad the result. Ugly mid-strength beer while watching this present Glory side. You need more than full strength beer. You'd be on the spirits. Good, the girls won. Which is great. Bad, religious manager. Ugly, the attendance and appearance on the broadcasts. Good, Socceroos. Ugly, the fact that the season's pretty much over already. Bad, the acknowledgement. It gave way to arguably one of the worst performances. So, saying that everything's not right and then showing that clearly isn't. David Religious is an incredibly poor communicator with the fans and his players. Good. The Far Post journalism quality. Oh, look, isn't that nice? It's better than the abuse we've been receiving for prawn sandwiches and champagne. And
did you get prawn sandwiches?
I didn't get invited. Still bitter.
We saw the
ugly Kanga's defensive skills. Yeah, good. Ngo and Rizzo went hard till the end, and Faisal coming off the bench. Bad lack of chemistry. Ugly. Newcastle coach still coaching from the sidelines well into the 90th minute, even though they're 4-0 up. Good pre and post game drinks. Bad the game in between. The state of the food and drink on offer at HBF. We were a solid improvement on last year's offering. It's less options for more money. Ugly the performance. Still scrolling. Ugly the performance. Bad the bus was late and I missed the first 3 goals. Good the bus was late and I missed the first 3 goals. So this is great. Danny Milosevic doing more coaching than Zrilic.
Yeah, that was noticeable. Stan
Lazarida should have been sacked by now. It's mainly his mess that's got us where we are. Zrilic, all talk, no action to improve anything anytime soon. Pre-game with Street Eats was good. The good and Mrs. first ever game to watch. The bad, the Mrs. first ever game to watch. And $29 for 2 vodka lime seltzers at the bar.
$29
for 2 vodka lime seltzers.
Crikey.
Yeah, they're probably those little 150ml cans as well.
Cost of living crisis as well.
Shambles.
How about that?
Bring your own flask. You'll need it.
There you go. Big thank you to everyone who sent some comments through, and fantastic. And we'll keep them coming into the new year. Right, we're going to take a break. On the other side, special guest Dino Djulbic is going to join us. Back after this.
Tired of the same old cookie-cutter home designs? Dreaming of a space that truly reflects you? Then it's time to talk to the team at Trio Homes. Whether you're looking to build your dream home, redesign your current space, or simply renovate, Trio Homes is committed to unique designs, local personalised service and quality workmanship. And with former Perth Glory star Dino Djulbic at the helm, you'll know you're getting passion and dedication built into every project. Discover the difference with Trio Homes. Visit triohomes.com.au.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Welcome back to the Far Post Perth podcast presented by ID Athletic and Trio Homes. Fantastic to have Trio Homes on board. And, the big fella behind the running of Trio Homes, former Perth Glory defender. Oh, geez, we could do with one of them at the moment, and a no-nonsense defender like this next man, Dino Djulbic. Welcome to the pod, mate.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all, mate. Firstly, thank you very much for your support of the podcast, mate. Tell the listeners a little bit about Trio Homes.
I didn't think we were going to talk about Trio.
Oh, we can talk about Trio Homes.
Would you rather talk about Glory or small for choice? You've got 15 minutes to talk about Trio Homes.
So, look, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people know I manage the company. So I started a company while I was playing, and we're now into our 9th year. So I have 2 business partners who've been in construction for a long time. I've studied building construction while I was playing and started a company. So it's lots happening, and we're well up and running, and we do a lot of custom homes and developments and a lot of extensions and renovations.
Good stuff. It's something that's not spoken about so much, and you kind of delved a little bit into it there. I'll get you to delve a little bit deeper, but I guess that transition from playing into, I guess, normal civilian life, I mean, how did you find it?
Look, I was really fortunate, obviously. When I was younger, I didn't really think about what I wanted to do after football because there was nothing after football. I mean, what do you mean? I'm playing football and that's it. That's all I know. That's all I do. Till probably later in my or mid 30s when I come home and I really wanted to do something, and your mindset changes and you think you're thinking as a more experienced person. So I wanted to do something, and because when I told my wife that after I finished my career that she's gonna go back to work and I'll do nothing, she just stood there and just laughed at me and said, well, you can't even sit still for 5 minutes, let alone doing nothing, So I was like, yeah, fair point. So what I did was the transition was so easy because I had the business.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't have time to think about why am I not playing anymore or after my injury. So, probably if I didn't have the business, I would have probably tried to play longer.
Yeah.
100%. Because when you don't have nothing to fall back on, you will try, and after my surgery, the surgeon said, look, if you get another knock on your ankle or you twist it the wrong way, you'll limp for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And something I didn't want to do, I put my body on the line every training, every game, and I knew there's something could have happened eventually. Before that I was fortunate, never had a surgery till 37 years old. So, I've done well. So I've gone a long way, and while having the business and business taking more time off me, so I just dove right into it, and I didn't really want. And a year passed, and people's like, "Oh, are you still playing?" Or I was like, "Geez, I can't remember last time I put the boots on." Another year passed, and another year passed. So I really didn't have the opportunity to think about it, which was great distraction for me.
The career, you say, 37 before first surgery. Lots of people think football's a dream career. You get to kick a ball around for fun. You get paid to do it. But I'm sure that there's a sense of a little bit of relief when you finish in terms of less pressure, whether that's on the pitch, whether that's diet, whether that's keeping yourself in shape, and where's your next contract coming from. Was that a weight off the shoulders?
No. For
cool.
Me,
next question.
and I'll explain why. For me, I live under pressure. I love pressure. I know it's like, what do you mean? I said, I never wanted to sign long-term contracts. It's just because I knew I had to deliver, I had to perform, and maybe because I had to work really hard I never got given stuff, if you know what I mean. Like, I became professional early 20s. I wasn't 16, I wasn't 18. I had to work really, really hard, and I had to prove myself wherever I went. And that's what probably made me who I am. I was never a big talent. I was just a hard worker who sacrificed anything to win a game. And so,
well, I'll follow up on that, because hard work is such a big thing when it comes to football. And when I was younger, I played against lads I was like, this guy's going to be a pro. He's amazing. Just didn't have the work ethic. Have you seen players where this guy was way better than me, but he just didn't have it, and you had that drive and that push and maybe a bit of a chip on the shoulder as well? I was never given anything. I'm going to prove people wrong. As you say, you thrive under pressure, but you would have probably seen people coming up through the ranks that just didn't have that.
Yeah, I mean, majority of players that I played with, they're probably better. They had you thought they're going to make it before me anyway. It's just they actually didn't want to stay there 5 minutes extra after the training, come 10 minutes earlier, half an hour, whatever it takes. But for me, I remember when I used to play for Perth Soccer Club, and Glory never wanted to have a look at me. I was like, hey, what do I have to do? So I started waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I started running. I just started running just to get fitter. Maybe it was that. I mean, skill, I'll hopefully pick it up at training with, back then, Graham Normanton was my coach. He was drilling me really hard, and in that sense. So I tried always different things, and then I'll go to work or study and then go to training in the evening. And I loved every training session that I went to. I've never missed a training session unless I was injured. And when I was injured, I was there. So always wanted to be there, and always went with a smile, because I always thought this could be my last session.
How easy or how hard was it to maintain that discipline and that dedication throughout your career, particularly as you started to get a little bit older? Was it perhaps as you were getting more experience, it was like, okay, maybe I don't have that same drive as I did when I was 23, 24 and trying to establish myself?
It's easy to take your foot off the pedal, 100%. But for me, it was always, so people used to tell me, oh, don't worry, once you sign your big contract, then that's when you get yourself in and you take it. Take it easy. That's what people used to tell me. And I'm looking, I was like, well, that's when this hard work starts, and for me I worked even harder when I got older, even when Popper took over, and, I was never in Popper's plans. Never. He signed Spiranovic, Machella, Davidson. We already had Shane Lowry, Grant, and I was there somewhere at 36, and he looked at me and said, oh, look, you will enjoy my training sessions. That's all he said to me.
Would you say that allowed you to, especially to that grand final, would you say that allowed you to keep playing even when you did was it your ACL that you did? Would you say that played a big part? And in some players, they'd get that and they go, no, I can't do it. But you, even in the biggest game, it was like, no, I'm going to keep playing. I'm going to do everything and continue, like you said before, put your body on the line.
Yeah, look, and I wanted to prove everyone wrong. And the more people told me I can't do it or I can't have it, the more I wanted it. And that was probably at 36, I thought I had my best year with Popper, because he wanted more, he pushed for more, and just not from me, from everyone. He wanted the small details. That's the difference that you need sometimes. Even when you're hard working, you still sometimes you're a little bit off. If not everyone's pushing the right way, or if not the level is at 100% for everyone. With Popper, he demanded 100%. He didn't ask for 99, never did. 100% or you're out.
Yeah.
And for me, that was like, wow, where were you 15 years ago? I would have probably played with Bayern Munich now. I mean, just the demand that he wanted, and he pushed me to the next level as well, just like everyone else, and that's why we had so much success under him.
Dino, I just want to bring you, I guess, a little bit to the here and now, and of course, everyone who's associated with Perth Glory, ex-players, fans, it's pretty upset and pretty dismayed with where the club's at. How are you seeing this situation at the moment?
Yeah, look, it's not easy. You watch the games, and if it's on TV or going to the game, it's you're not seeing much, and it does hurt. I mean, this is my club. I love the club. Even I'm not involved as much as I would like to be, or But it is hard, and you sit at home and you're like, okay, well, what is the solution? Is there something? I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're all experts from the outside, and I get that. It's we don't know what's happening inside. I mean, we've got 32 players on the books, which I don't think we have that in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
So obviously, there's players that are probably the club doesn't want to be there, but they're there. They don't want to go anywhere, so they're happy where they are. And some players are. So who knows? It's. I think it's puzzling for everyone at the moment. And I hope they can turn it around. I mean, look, I played against Driller. I don't know much about what his coach like, but I like new coaches, new blood. He's the way when I spoke to him last, he said he's got the ideas that he's got and the way he's speaking, enthusiasm and everything. Is it the right players? Is it not? That's the hardest bit to know, the system, because he wants to play high pressure football. I know that I played it. I was in Germany and then we played that. I know what it takes, and the question is, does he have the right players to do it?
A question for me would be, given that it appears from the outside that belief and confidence within the system is quite low, you've been involved in many different environments over your career. How hard or how easy is it to bring back that belief, particularly in a system like David's, which is not the norm and not the average type of system? It's a very unique type of brand of football.
Yeah, it's very demanding. I mean, but if there's no confidence in the players, you're not going to get it, because not everyone can play that. It's I think what they need to, from what I can see, it's try to stick together and try to, because once they start pointing fingers at each other, it's gone. It's finished. It doesn't matter what system you get to play. It's and especially at the moment, it's easy to point fingers because I mean, we have not played with the same 11 twice. So there's always chopping and changing, and because either the players are not delivering or the coach is not happy with what they're delivering, or they're not getting the message. So there was the time. So like you said, they said, yeah, pre-season, okay, but pre-season is. It's not really a measure. I think we're in a season now, and teams are stepping up where we haven't yet. And I feel sorry for some of the players. I feel sorry for Tags. I watch him. I was like, oh my god, poor guy. He's actually not getting anything anywhere. And then he scores 2 goals, and you're like, man, I don't even know how he scored those 2 goals. But that's what he does. But there's no help. There's no nothing. There's no support. We just sit deep and. I don't know, we'll go through our motions, I believe.
I mean this in the nicest possible way. Probably wearing some change rooms where you lost a lot of games in a row. I don't think that is a slight on you, but every player goes through runs of it. And you get into that rut, and you mentioned about players low on confidence, and you would have been both probably a junior player and a senior player in those environments. What would you suggest that they do? Is it a case of just turning up to training every day and trying harder, or is it a case of going out and doing something social, or as you say, the relationships might be gone already and it might be too late. But what can they do to instill a bit of confidence and support in each other? You bring in 14 new players. It's not easy to integrate everybody, both football wise and as part of a culture. Yeah.
Look, I had crisis meetings. I was fighting with everyone, with no one. I was talking to everyone, talking to nobody. So, look, there's a lot, I guess, as captain or as leaders, they just need the leaders to step up. And I'll say leaders, but I'll say, look, senior players with the experience, because they've been through all this where the youngest players haven't. So it's probably majority of their senior players that they have to keep the group together and bring everyone together. And is it having meetings in the change rooms without the coaches, without anyone, without the club, without just the players? Because at the end of the day, it's the players. The players are the ones that are playing. It's not the coach. The coach will give you the tools. If you're doing what he wants or not, that's up to the player again. The club can't give it to you. You got the players. You got 32 players, so it's up to the individual. Is it too much? Is the training not? They can't get enough to train with 32 players. Is it too many players on the park? Is it, that's. But personally, I think it's the senior players that have to step up and try to lead. Who the senior players are? Well, no, Tags is.
Rizzo, O'Neill.
Yeah, Rizzo.
like that.
But Rizzo, you got to remember, Rizzo didn't play for first 4 weeks or 5 weeks. So he's just coming back. He's trying to get himself fit as well. So
I did see, I was quite impressed at half-time at the weekend. I know Ollie Sale has gotten a load of criticism from people and he's not been in favour, but he stood at the halfway line and spoke to every single player that came off the pitch, gave a pat on the back, had a few words with them all. And he was, trying to motivate people. And that to me is the sort of thing that when you put your personal circumstances, he wants to be playing, obviously, but for the greater good of the team to set that aside and try, that's something I would look at and go, that we need a bit more of that to try get things into your point around meeting without coaches. That can be good, but it can also be the start of a mutiny as well. It's hard because if they're not buying into the brand of football that they're being asked to play, and you have your own ideas, and players are smart. They've played the game for long enough. They're tactically sound. They know what's good and what's not. My concern is that they've already gone, this is just not working. That's potentially problematic.
Interesting what it looks like this week, boys, before we let you go, Dino. As I said, Risdon looked pretty cooked pretty early on the weekend, so I don't know if we're going to see him, but no Brandon O'Neill either. So what it looks like going forward against Brisbane, I mean, this is a crunch clash.
Well, one of the questions, Dino, that I did want to ask you, because obviously when Popper came, it was totally different, particularly from a tactical perspective, and the way in which we defended, how compact we were, the mindset behind defending. In a period of time where we are right now, where the defensive shape has come under a lot of scrutiny, how easy or how hard is it to improve upon your defensive shape mid-season when it's come under a fair bit of criticism?
Look, obviously, I look at it, it's just not the defense. It's from the front.
Yep.
I mean, we start from the front, and with Popper, what he always wanted, he always demanded like the small detail. And if you didn't do it, you're out. Doesn't matter who you are. You were Castro, you were Spiranovic, you were whoever, Davidson. Doesn't matter. If you did not do what he wanted you to do, to that exact detail, he will stop the video just before you're taking the step where you're supposed to be. Like, I'm talking about half a meter. He will stop the video and he goes, now you should have been there. Like, literally, you can see the guy is lifting his leg. But he goes, mate, that's a millisecond too late. That's the detail that he would be going through in every video session. And he will drill and drill and drill and drill. I remember we were playing Wellington at home, and we were 2-0 up. And me and Spiranovic were playing in the centre halves, and they had a young kid. I don't even know his name. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. He had a shot which actually hit the shed. So, but we came in half time, and I was in the physio room for some reason. I don't know. I had a cut on my leg, and he went to the physio. I said, get him out of here. He goes, sit down. Me and Spiranovic were sitting next to each other, and he was going off for 15 minutes at me and Spira. For 15 minutes. There was no team talk. There was just 15 minutes drilling me and Spiranovic. You old, this. You're turning like trucks, blah, 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 blah. Totally 15 minutes.
But he knew that you could take that.
But he would know because he's asking the rest correct. So he goes, mate, 2-0 is the worst score. Don't drop it now. But that's what he would do.
Yeah.
Another time we'll come in, we're 1-0 down. He will stop everyone, get everyone together and start talking about tactics, how we're going to win this game. That's why we used to win the games when we're 2-0 down. Yeah. We'll win them 3-2. In the 91st minute, we're losing 2-1. I'm still confident that we're going to win the game 3-2.
Would you say that's also because you guys were quite an experienced unit? And then when you're talking about in comparison to right now with what we've got, obviously the squad dynamics is you've got the extreme, right? You've got some experienced players, but then you've got some guys who are playing NPL and they've never played A-League football before. So would you say that obviously for David in the sense of sympathy, it's a little bit harder to build that sort of mentality?
100%. Look, it's hard, but you have to start it from the front. You got to start it from somewhere. You know, I mean, I think with the young players, you can actually teach them earlier or quicker. And old horses are really hard to change their ways, their habits or their ways. You know, so but I do feel for him because Popper knew what style he wanted to play, and he brought the players that he needed to play it. So, and they were experienced players, so it does help. You know, so. And they wanted something. They wanted to win something, those players, because Spiranovic came injured. Davidson played somewhere. Don't even remember where. Davidson told me.
Greece, wasn't it? I think it was Greece.
Maybe Greece.
Yeah.
But Davidson told him, Papa rang him up and said, when was the last time you had a good game? This is Papa. Ask him. He hasn't signed. He was just asking him. This isn't him talking. And he goes, I think maybe 6 months ago. He goes, 4 years ago. I said, you are shit. This is his words. He said, but that's okay. I'll take you back to Socceroos. I said, but you're shit. And Davidson was telling me, he goes, and I signed. He goes, I signed after he told me I'm shit.
You keep calling me shit.
Of two really quick ones. How good was Castro on training?
Just unbelievable. Look, Papa will always put on my team, just didn't want me to kick him.
Don't kill him. We need him.
And that didn't even guarantee him that I won't kick him. So.
By the way, take you back, March 2018. I love these quirky questions. Liam Reddy gets sent off.
Oh no!
And someone has to go on goal. Is it a case that it's stick the big man in goal because he can just stand there and fill the goal, or did you put your hand up?
Nah, look, I said, look, I'll do it. There was a couple of people said, and this is Liam's words, not mine. He goes, nah, mate, there's only one person. There's another big Bosnian that will need to go in there. A mad bastard that has to go in the goals, you know? And I was like, yep, let's do it. I was like, oh, shit, Karuska's taking the free kick.
Take me out.
Hey. Kept a clean sheet.
I was going to say, you've got that in your retirement locker on the CV.
Very, very good. Dino, mate, thank you very much for jumping on with us, mate. And look forward to seeing you again soon.
Tired of the same old cookie cutter home designs? Dreaming of a space that truly reflects you? Then it's time to talk to the team at Trio Homes. Whether you're looking to build your dream home, redesign your current space, or simply renovate, Trio Homes is committed to unique designs, local personalised service and quality workmanship. And with former Perth Glory star Dino Djulbic at the helm, you'll know you're getting passion and dedication built into every project. Discover the difference with Trio Homes. Visit triohomes.com.au.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Final part of the Far Post Perth podcast. Big thank you to Dino Djulbic. Always a fantastic chat to have the big man chatting a bit of football with us. Right, boys, it's been a week of, bit of this, bit of that, bit of accusations, bit of innuendo. So we thought we might lay out the carpet and have a bit of a chat about a few things happening around the club. I wanted to talk a little bit about this meeting because there's a few accusations that have been thrown at me personally and a few other people. So I wanted to go through this.
You've got a very nice new car in the car park, Blayne.
I can see the envelope, Blayne. Yeah.
Way to throw me under the bus, yeah. First thing it's important to note is that the meeting between the people that went was entirely facilitated by the club. This was not...
Yeah.
And it should be important to note the invite list as well. I mean, I wasn't invited, so I'm still bitter. But the invite list of who went, as in, I saw people commenting, oh, why wasn't this fan group invited and why wasn't this? The club decided.
Yeah. That's
who they sent an invite to.
Yeah.
So, whatever reason, direct your comments to there about who was invited or not.
And another point is that I feel that this won't be the first fan meeting. I think that this might be an initial fan meeting, and there will be more because that was openly suggested that they are open to meeting with more fans and gauging more views and everything else like that. So, I mean, and another thing too, I think we've got to be perfectly honest about is we didn't actually know what would be spoken about until we got there. There was no agenda sent. No. I didn't have any clue what was actually being spoken about there as well. So,
I was just shitting bricks.
James got sent to the headmaster.
Naughty corner.
Yeah. But I think also to add, it's important that the club does seek some views outside of the four walls. This is what we all kind of
and I can
scream for, isn't it?
Well, on my behalf at least, I wrote a separate piece wanting to meet with Ross and basically putting a fair amount of questions towards him. And I was just like, at the end of the day, man, I just want to talk to you. And the fact that we were all, myself and Blayne and a couple others, Kim and David, were invited was obviously very humbling. But I think I might have stressed to one of them at the end of the meeting, I'm like, well, you've got to improve the way in which you communicate. And I think that was also made very clear by other people that were in the meeting about the need to communicate properly with fans.
Yeah. So I guess we wanted to use this section to go through and, say, yes, there is mitigating circumstances, but in no way does anything that we heard excuse the insipid performances that we are seeing and the way that the on-field brand looks at the moment.
It's been crap.
As we've said, it is off. So I guess we'll break this down into three sections, Neil. I guess we'll look at a little bit of on-field matters, some off-field matters, and then I guess we can have a bit of a chat about player recruitment. Now, despite there being a lack of personnel and tactics, setup, attitude, they're all inept at the moment, in my opinion. They've all been below par.
That's a very fair claim, and I think a lot of people have, outside of the Perth Glory circle, so other A-League fans have said, you guys are playing like New Zealand Knights, Gold Coast, North Queensland Fury. You're playing like a team that just doesn't want to be there, is not motivated, and is making themselves look much, much worse than what they really are. They're much better than what they're giving.
Another point I'll make is it's not good enough to be in round 8 and still not know what your best 11 is.
Well, we shouldn't have signed 15 players, and I did mention this stat to Stan and Ross in particular. I said since the 2020-21 season, we've had, if my math is correct, 66 signings and 83 total player departures since Richard Garcia's first season, which is crazy.
Yeah. Look, they're all fair points, and the issue for me is and I mentioned it earlier on, is we brought in a coach to play a particular style, and the coach doesn't have the players to do that, even though 15 players have come in. So there's a real disconnect between the coach and what he wants to do and the players that were signed, what seems to be for him. So is the left hand talking to the right hand? Is my question. I would say no, because the coach is blowing it up already and trying something different. We don't quite know what that something is, but yeah, it just looks like a scattergun approach. Throw a lot of money at some experienced players for visa signings, and then some kids, get it into the mix as well. Bring back some WA boys for the feel-good factor, and then add in a couple of average A-League jobbers. Yeah. And hopefully that they all come together into a pot and they spit out a team that can get some results. And that hasn't happened. And that people need to answer that. Well, people need to be accountable for that, and it's not just the coach, right? There's people at the top that need to be coming out. And look, Stan Lazaridis was very, very buoyant and vocal in pre-season about the players, and he's been quiet on the airwaves since then. And I do think he set people up to fail by talking them up so much. I understand drumming up interest, and I understand that you're happy about your signings, but you do really set yourself up for a disaster, and unfortunately that's how it's played out. And it should be important to just stress that none of us here want Glory to be shit or to lose games. It's far more fun going and watching a game and giving up your Saturday night when the team is winning. I love that. We spoke to Dino earlier about the seasons he's had under Popovich and winning a trophy and having a close to full HBF Park. It's grim going there and watching being part of 5,500 people, seeing your team get dicked 4-0 by an average opposition. So we want to improve things. I was particularly critical of them this week in something I wrote, and I'll continue to be that way because I simply want to contribute a little bit of driving standards. And to be brutally honest, there's fuck all analysis in the media around Perth Glory.
Aside from people laughing whenever they talk about us on, there's A-League shows that every time the Max Rushton, I think he hosts a show with Archie Thompson and Thomas Sorensen or some other guys come on, but every time he mentions Glory, there's always a bit of a giggle where it's like,
but there's no actual analysis, right? You've gone beyond you've gone to the point of being a laughing stock, right? As opposed to being a proud club with a storied history, with a huge potential fan base, to just being a joke. And we would like to see that change. And that's simply where we're coming from. And that's probably why you guys were invited to the meeting, because you care and you do have strong opinions. And you know your football as well, right?
Yeah.
So, yes, it's a positive step in that regard.
We're influencers, Neil. Get it right.
Influencers.
Yep. Got to put that on
Good for the metrics. Good for the metrics. Thanks to everyone who clicked and liked and followed this week.
I guess another thing that was spoken about, and this is big because I think this all stems... Well, everything that comes to fruition stems from this, and that was the questions around the club's identity, the club's values, the strategic vision, and these might sound like marketing buzzwords and business buzzwords and everything else like that, but they make sense to have these kind of things down and documented.
You need them.
Yeah, and know where you're going as a football club.
You posed the question, and I'll be honest, I don't think there was really an answer that we came away from going, okay, yeah, we fully know the direction. So, yeah, I mean, it's a valid question because you would.
Well, and this isn't, as I mentioned in that meeting, this isn't a knock at the current ownership.
No,
because I don't think this club has ever had a proper identity or vision or
aside from
strategy that's everyone can jump on board and
aside from the old strategic plan from 2016, the Perth Glory way, which has been a flawed strategy, obviously, but we don't know what we stand for and what we're trying to achieve going forward.
Yeah, exactly right. Another thing I guess we've got to acknowledge is that the state that the club was in when this new ownership did take over, that's got to be acknowledged.
Yes.
We've got to, I think, remember that this ownership group took over in January. That's 10 months. It is a multi-million-dollar business. Anyone who does any kind of business will know that it takes more than 10 months to turn around. However, I will caveat that again. It's no excuse for what's happening on the field. No. That's been made very, very clear.
If they were a bit more effective with their public messaging from top to bottom and saying, look,
PR's been a disaster.
That's the big point.
Yeah.
If they had a much better PR strategy, then I don't think fans would be as pissed off as they are right now.
Another thing that we've got to acknowledge too is that the playing stocks that have been inherited as well, and this goes back to the last regime and certain individuals in that last regime. This lies with them. So there is that situation as well, which means that things are tight. But as mentioned on another podcast, the A-League Off Air podcast, there was attempts to try and pull in a 23-year-old Colombian centre back by the name of Christian Devonish. Now, I've had a bit of a look at him over the last day or so. Serviceable defender playing in Portuguese top division. So,
well, he was valued at over 700,000 euros. And to put a bit of context, the vast majority of the visa signings that were brought in, and this is by Transfer Market, by the way, the vast majority of the visa signings that were brought in by Lewis Kanga barely had a valuation of over 100,000.
Yeah.
So
it was always also being reported that Kanga and Caicedo weren't the top of the list as far as the wish list goes. So, there is some, I guess, some things happening behind the scenes, and David Djulbic has spoken about this, but I guess this hasn't been communicated enough
or effectively
to the fans out there. So,
but I understand focusing on the haves rather than the have-nots. In terms of, and that's where the talking up of the signings comes from. But I think
they're all fair criticisms.
I think most people looked at the recruitment and they were a bit.
I mean, we're still scratching our heads at it at the moment. Yep. No, absolutely. But in saying all this, the whole club needs to be put on notice, I feel, from the players, coaches, football department, administration. The current situation doesn't prevent players from paying for the badge. I'm not sure we've seen the effort from the players. I'm not sure we've a sound technical nous from the coaches or due diligence performed when it comes to recruitment or the administration side either.
Thing. We had Dino, who played in some very good teams, some that were successful, some that weren't. I mean, Kenny and Popper, those eras are some of the better eras in terms of the A-League for Glory members and fans. And the players that you would have seen on the pitch at that point, they gave a crap and they understood what the badge meant to an extent. And they would entertain and they would fight and play in a way where we're in a national competition. We represent WA, and what's been put on this season with this club representing WA, particularly away from home and even at home, has just been embarrassing. And it needs to change. It needs to be, completely condemned. It needs everyone from top to bottom, as you mentioned, have got it wrong. And we need to do better moving forward.
Yeah, they should all be having a good hard look at themselves as far as my opinions go. Neil, final thoughts, mate?
Yeah, look, there is some good stuff happening off the field. They finally got a women's shirt sponsor this week. They were on the company was on the shirts
and
for the weekend game.
And as much as this isn't, glamorous, it's important.
No, it is important. And they've signed some, Baskin Robbins is on board with the women as well. The men have got some sponsors. And from a corporate perspective, it sounds like they're doing okay. The issue I've got with that, though, is it's not relevant to the results and talking about what's happening off the field. Again, what I wrote this week, no one gives a shit about your Baskin Robbins when they're sat in the stand and you've paid $35 as a walk up and the game's over after 15, 20 minutes. They need to understand that there's a massive separation between what the fans care about when they're in the ground and what the money men care about, right? So there's a big separation. So stop talking to people like they're idiots and saying there's loads going on in the background. Well, what is the loads? What is the loads going on in the background? If it's just signing a few deals and bringing in some sponsors, who cares?
Yeah.
Does not matter to me whatsoever when I'm watching the latest shit show. So, and understand that you if you talk to people around that side of things too much, they will probably rightly at the moment believe that there's nothing to talk about football-wise. There's no positives. Yeah. The January stuff is going to be interesting because you can't force a player to leave, right? If a player's on good money,
it's all dependent on that.
If a player's on good money here, and I'm sure people can guess who the high earners are, and some of them haven't featured much this season or at all, and they're contracted till the end of the year, and they've got every right to sit on that contract, and because they're probably not going to get the same dollars going elsewhere, so they're under no obligation to leave. Also, who's going to want to buy a Glory player?
That's the big question.
Nobody's going to pay a fee for anybody. So if you are going to see people go, you're not going to get a fee for them. Yep. Mutual transfer window, gone, see you later. And Glory will take a hit on that because it goes against the cap, right? So you will have less money. I don't think anybody that comes in January is going to make a blind bit of difference, right? They can sign 2 or 3 players. They will not be changing the face of Perth Glory for this season. This season to me is a write-off. They're not going to go anywhere. They'll be lucky to win a couple of games. And the real question will be, how long do you give the coaching group? Do you blow it up and get new people in January, February with a view to next season? Or do you limp through this season and then go recruit again for the same coach and his support crew? They're the 2 options as far as I can see. I'm not sure which is the right one at the moment, but my patience is wearing thin. I'd always said that you'd give a new regime until January, give them half a season to prove themselves, a lot of new faces, new coaches, all of that. But that was on the proviso that we saw something to get behind and to support and to justify going. I said earlier, 5,500 at the game at the weekend. It was the first home game for a month. People were itching to get to a game.
Yep.
There's another game in a few days' time, and then another game a few days after that. What is the incentive to go? And we did ask that. Ben Smith,
you've asked that a lot of times.
Ben Smith asked that after the game in the press conference. He said to David Ridge, can you give a message to the fans? What reason should they have to come watch the next game? And he talked about the off-field stuff.
No.
It doesn't. No one is going to have an interest in coming. So yeah, look, there's so much to do. The meeting is the meeting. My question for you guys around the meeting is, 1, what was the point of it? And 2, what happens next? Did they give any indication of where this is going, what they're going to do? Or was it get the lads in a room, get them on side a little bit and massage their egos by giving them Mentos and a bottle of water and then sending them out into the wild to talk up the club? Because I'm sorry, that's not going to work for me. I don't get, again, we don't get paid for this. We've got jobs. So we'll say what we like. You're not going to silence us. You're not going to direct us in a way. So what is it about?
I've got to be purely honest. I kind of walked away with more questions than what I went in with, if I'm purely honest. The meeting did provoke a lot of thought, but with thought comes questions and everything else like that. And a lot of it was around what had been spoken about, if I'm purely honest. But as far as your next question, where to now? As I said, I don't know. That's up to the powers that be.
I just hope for future dialogue. Like not just necessarily between us 2 or 3 or 4, but in the sense of broader communication with different fan groups to try and gauge where they're at and say, okay, it's not been good so far. What do you want to see moving forward? How can we make things better? And ask those tough questions to the fans and then let the fans sort of guide you, because at the end of the day, fans have no incentive to want to come to the games. And when we had an initial average of something like 7,000 coming to the first 2 games to then drop to 5,000, what we saw. There's no product that's being advertised to fans where they're incentivised, where they'll go with their mates or their family. Because I think the Grassroots for Glory thing, if I'm not wrong, there was a 3-game deal that was done with Football West. Isn't that done now?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And but the thing is, right, there's people out there who see us as a problem in the sense of got egos. We think we're important. No. We get invited to these meetings. So we can put out whatever we want, propaganda or otherwise, and a lot of people just won't listen to it anyway. So and we've seen that in the comments that we've received from people and some of the shit that goes on, and that's fine. Like, people are entitled to their opinions. But there is an element of going out to the fan groups and that probably won't influence the person on the street with their kids that don't really go on social media and don't listen to podcasts. How do we get them involved? And your point about the grassroots thing, absolutely. I've got people that message me. And they've gone to their first games this season. And my cousin was in it. I had someone message me that I used to work with. She said she took her kid to the first game. And I said it was amazing. But the result of football was crap. There was nothing to get behind. So they loved the experience. They loved going to HBF Park. Great place to watch football. Lots of things on for it. But where's the incentive to go back?
And I will say, just on that, there's been a lot of work behind the scenes from the club to try and get the WA football public back on board, particularly in working with NPL, not competing with the NPL clubs. And I've had that verified by a couple of different people over the last couple of days that I've spoken to. So I guess that is something that needs to be commended. And there's certain things that need to be commended. We've got to remember that. And there's certain things that need to be rightfully criticised. So I guess after all that, that's where we'll leave it. Boys, let's take a very, very quick look ahead to the weekend. Let's start with the Perth game against Brisbane. Thoughts and tips, please.
I don't want to be too harsh, but I think it is in a way judgment day for Zrilla. I think if we don't get a positive result out of that game, then I think there needs to be some serious questions asked.
Neil,
do you have a feeling this week, or
I don't have any more feelings. I don't have any more feelings.
No feeling this week. Again, I've no reaon to tell. I was equally stupid. Well, maybe not as stupid. I was stupid last week thinking they'd get a draw. No, I don't look. Where is the Jay O'Shea and Waddingham connection in the Glory team?
There's not.
So it could be Taggart plus somebody, but we don't have that, and I think that's what's keeping Brisbane alive at the moment. Those two players. O'Shea's one of the best players in the league for the last 4 years. Yeah. And Waddingham's a lot of fun, and he's going to get taken pretty soon, you'd think. But while they've got those two, they're better than anything Glory have at the moment. So I think Brisbane will win 2-0.
Yeah, I think Brisbane as well.
That's cool.
Friday night, Adelaide, Sydney.
I've got Adelaide winning.
Yeah, Adelaide after good.
Got
having a great start to the season. Friday night at High Marsh, lovely fixture.
Yeah, no, it is a good fixture that Friday night in Adelaide. Auckland Western United. I think Auckland do this. They bounce back.
If there's no bubbles on the pitch, they'll be fine. Auckland.
Melbourne Derby, Melbourne Victory to host at AAMI Park.
Well, we've probably mentioned the Snorble thing now.
To the Christian Bale.
I mean, what a kick in the bollocks for the Victory fans! Just as they start
is that effective immediately?
Gone. The assistant coach is taking over for this weekend. So, they just come around to the idea of having the ex-City manager in charge.
They did like him though.
He's gone back to CFG now, or allegedly.
Gone, and after 8 games, and they'll be very careful next time about who they welcome into their club. I'm sure. But I think Victory are still the better team.
No, I've got City and an upset.
You reckon they're going to upset?
Yeah, because cast your mind back last year, similar time, albeit different teams and different level of squad. But Brisbane Roar, Ross Aloisi.
Well, I'm going to pull splinters out of my bum and sit on the fence and go a draw. Wanderers Wellington.
Wanderers to bounce back. I think they'll win this.
No, Wellington. Wellington, good team. Barbarouses and looked great again at the weekend. That goal, that link-up play with Rojas, that was it. That was a bit of me watching that. I enjoyed that a lot.
Of that at Glory.
I enjoyed that a lot. And they're 2 experienced senior players that have had their problems, but connected really nicely then.
And last one, boys, on the Sunday, MacArthur against Central Coast.
MacArthur, yeah. Central Coast are cooked. And there's talk of Jackson being linked with the Melbourne Victory.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll see how that all goes. A-League W Friday, Adelaide against Melbourne City. We'll also see the Wanderers take on Perth Glory. I'm pretty sure that is a 4 p.m. kickoff Perth time. I can't be certain, but check your local guides as they say for that. Saturday, Wellington against Sydney. Newcastle against Brisbane and Canberra against Melbourne. Victory on the Sunday is Mariners against Western United.
Just on the women really quickly,
Yes.
I know we're tight for time, but good performance, scored a few goals.
Yeah.
One of the things that really stood out for me was Macasey Dumont, right, in goal. The difference she makes when it comes to corners, actually coming out and punching the ball and being, she's a FLW and she's experienced and all that, but that is great for your backline. They've had some goalkeeping issues over the years. Morgan Akono going, it was a huge loss, but she's come in now, and when corners come in, she's commanding, and I think that's a real confidence booster for her backline. But overall, they were good. Did say last week that they would that they would get a win, and I thought they were good value for it. Yeah, definitely.
Any final thoughts, final predictions, nonsense predictions, James?
Looking forward to the women play. To be honest, I think from moving forward, they should be playing at HBF instead of the blokes. Maybe that might kick their ass a little bit. So,
last week's bowl prediction, Blayne, you gave me the stat. I said David Zrilich's press conference would go below 15 minutes.
14:57.
14:57. I was so happy. That was
all right,
amazing.
we might wrap things up, boys. Neil's getting a bit too excited here, but it's big thank you to Idea.
Sorry, my bowl prediction though. My bowl prediction. There is 1 and possibly 2 red cards in the Brisbane Glory game.
Bring it on.
Somebody is going to get really frustrated. There was rumours of an altercation between Ruben Zavkovic and a cameraman after the press conference at Western Sydney at the weekend, and I think just frustration will boil over somewhere.
It's on free to air TV as well.
See how it goes. Beauty.
Yeah.
Big thank you to ID Athletic and, of course, Trio Homes. Big thank you to Dino Djulbic. Big thank you to you guys for the year so far. We'll be back after a bit of a break. We'll be back around about mid-Jan. So we'll take a bit of a break for Christmas. Big thank you to all of our listeners, supporters, knockers, haters.
But still like, share and follow.
Yeah, still like, share and follow.
Care about the metrics.
Yeah. Just tell your friends about the podcast. Tell your mum, Nana, and everything else. Until the new year, we'll see you then for more here on the Far Post Perth Podcast.